itself as the birthplace of the Civil War, where slavery began to die. Lecompton, Kansas was the pro-slavery territorial capital of Kansas, and the building in front of us is Constitution Hall, where on the top floor, the bogus pro-slavery government almost succeeded in making Kansas a slave state. This bottom floor was used as a land office from 1857 to 1860, and this is where you would come and stake your claim. You could get an acre of land for $1.25, but you had to live on it and make improvements on it. And just for comparison, an acre of farmland here in Kansas today will cost you on average about $3,000. And that book on the table is called The Bogus Laws because these were laws written by the bogus pro-slavery legislature. Kansas had become a territory in May of 1854, and in March of 1855, the territorial governor, Andrew Reeder, called for an election for the new territorial government. Kansas was going to be able to decide if they wanted to be entered into the Union as a slave or a free state. Abolitionists from the North and pro-slavery people from the South came flooding into Kansas, creating a huge storm. When the elections were held in March of 1855, pro-slavery supporters flooded in from Missouri and refused to let the free state citizens vote. What happened was a landslide victory for the pro-slavery side, and they made Lecompton the territorial state capital. And it was here for the next few years that they met and created laws, counties, and started to write a constitution that was pro-slavery. The free state population of Kansas called this the bogus legislature, and their laws, bogus laws. And I have a whole video on how Kansas became a state that will give you more insight into the events leading to Kansas statehood. You don't need to have watched it for this video, but if you're interested, I'll leave a link right here and at the end of the video. It's Claire. Just want to get a map. This is a cool little map. Look, this is the reservations in 1846, and then I think those are 1866. Huh. Yeah, look at the difference of the land that they used to have versus what they had 20 years later. Teeny, teeny, tiny. Look, there's the Kansas people. Those are the people that we saw their lodge up in Atchison. Yep. Lecompton was founded in 1854, and it is on the Kansas River. And it was originally called Bald Eagle, and it was not only the territorial state capital, but it was slated to become the state capital. And at its height, this was a bustling town. It had numerous hotels and banks and 6 churches. Today, the population hovers around 700. And we are headed upstairs to the second floor and the assembly room. And this staircase used to be on the outside of the building. And this building has been many things over the years, mostly a community meeting space, but it became a Masonic Lodge in 1894, and they moved the staircase inside soon after. Just look at this window. We're headed straight into the assembly room, and it was in here that the pro-slavery Lecompton Constitution was written. So we had the first territorial election in 1855, and it was a sham election. The next year, the pro-slavery government again won because Free Staters boycotted because they thought the whole election process was fraudulent, and they had already gathered their own free state government up in Topeka. But in 1857, they did vote and won by a landslide. The pro-slavery government was on its way out, but not before meeting here from October 19th to November 8th, 1857, where they adopted the Lecompton Constitution, and it was quickly sent to Congress, who could not agree. There were arguments and fistfights on the floor of the House of Representatives, and they finally sent it back to Kansas voters to decide. And here is a perfect example of why you should vote, because if the Free Staters had boycotted again, Kansas would have ended up being admitted to the Union as a slave state. But instead, they came out and voted down the Lecompton Constitution 10,226 to 138. Talk about a landslide. The new Free State government met here only long enough to change the meeting place to Leavenworth, Kansas, where the Leavenworth Constitution was adopted. And it would take one more constitution, the Wyandotte Constitution, before Kansas was admitted as a free state on January 29th, 1861. And when they were restoring this building, they took it apart and put it back together. And what they did was they left some of the walls and floors and ceilings exposed. And this building was built in 1854, and it feels old. You can hear the floorboards creaking, and it just has that feel to it like it's seen a lot in its days. Oh, look, you can still see some of the wallpaper or the decoration that was on the wall. I wonder if that was stencil or if that was wallpaper. It's wallpaper. This was a Masonic Lodge at one point, I believe.
What?
A Masonic Lodge. What is that? A Ku Klux Klan seal. That is exactly what that is. What does that say? Women of the Ku Klux Klan. Old Glory. Something. Old Glory Clan. It's it's like a stamp. This thing right here, like you would do like a watermark or something for the Ku Klux Klan. The women of the Ku Klux Klan. This room is really, really interesting because it shows how this building was made and put together. It even goes all the way up to the roof, and then you can see all the way down on the floor. That's the original flooring. Pretty cool. Tombstone of Sheriff Samuel J. Jones, 1827 to 1885. And he was an entrepreneur. He constructed Constitution Hall. Yep, and he constructed that. He built that sucker? That is the back of Constitution Hall. Oh my goodness, it's so cold today. I know it looks nice, but man, it's freezing. So let's go check out this jail. So the inside was open and I was able to get in, and it is tiny in here. I don't know if you can see, I'm kind of in the middle. I'm gonna do a little twirl around, and it's cold in here. It's colder in here than it is outside. So it's a good thing that they have that little stove. But these little windows, they're so tiny. Little tiny windows and little bitty bars. Wow, look how thick that wall is. Do you see that? That is, I'm gonna have to go outside and see if I can get that from the outside. Huh. Pretty cool. All right, I'm sorry I don't know what you did, but please stay warm. Keep your mask on and stay safe. Let's go see. Oh, yeah. Here's the outside of that window. I was talking about how thick those walls are. Huh. Very, very cool. So that is the jail behind me. And now we're gonna go head over to what was supposed to be the Capitol building, because Lecompton was supposed to be the capital of Kansas. It never happened. The capital is Topeka, but we're gonna go check out this building. And this is where the state capitol building would have been. And I read somewhere where the U.S. government gave the territory $50,000 to build this capitol building here in Lecompton. And it was started in 1855, but it was never finished. When they decided that Lecompton wasn't going to be the state capital anymore, they had built just right at the bottom of the window sills when they stopped. And in 1882, Lane University came and built this building on the Capitol ruins, and it remained here until 1902, and then it was Lecompton High School until 1927, and in 1982, it became a museum. And like a lot of these little town museums, it is chocked full of stuff. So we're just gonna go in and check out a few of the more interesting items. Let's go. Complicated. And you know what I read? I read that the guy who invented the rotary dial phone was from Kansas City, and he was an undertaker, and he wasn't getting any business. There were 2 undertakers in town. He wasn't getting any business, right? And he finally figured out that the woman who ran the switchboard was this other undertaker's wife. And so when somebody called and said, I need an undertaker, she would patch them through to her husband. So he decided that he was going to invent this rotary dial phone. That's a true story. There's another one, and that one looks even more complicated. Oh, this desk was used by the territorial legislators at Constitution Hall in Lecompton in 1857, and also in the Senate chambers in the Kansas state capitol in Topeka. Tombstone of James O'Neill, one of the 3 men from Lecompton killed in Quantrell's raid. Presidential plates. Wow. I like James Buchanan's. It's the pink one. So we have Millard Fillmore, Franklin Pierce, James Buchanan, Abraham Lincoln, Ulysses S. Grant, Benjamin Harris, and then in the back, Zachary Taylor, James Polk, that blue one, Andrew Jackson, and then we have John Quincy Adams, James Monroe, James Madison, and George Washington. Those are really cool. And I didn't notice this when I was there. I found this when I was editing, but look at all the little tiny statues of all the presidents. This is Fort Titus, and it is just behind the museum. Now this is a reproduction of of a cabin, which sometimes forts were just cabins. And there's not much information on this sucker. So I'm going to have to look at it when we get home. Do a little bit of research. So I got online, and according to LecomptonKansas.com, Fort Titus was a pro-slavery stronghold in Douglas County. That's the county that we're in. And it was about 2 miles south of Lecompton on the east bank of Coon Creek. Colonel Henry Titus built a fortified log house as a rendezvous point and a place of defense for pro-slavery men fighting their Free State neighbors. On August 16, 1856, some 50 Free State men attacked Fort Titus. After a brief battle, Fort Titus and its 34 defenders, including Colonel Henry Titus, surrendered. Also surrendered were 400 muskets, a large number of knives, 13 horses, several wagons, a large stock of household provisions, farm equipment, and $10,000 in gold and bank drafts. Slaves and servants owned by Titus were set free and instructed to go to Topeka. 2 pro-slavery men were killed, and Titus and 5 other combatants were seriously injured. 8 Free State men were wounded. The fort was then burned to the ground. So this is the Democratic headquarters, and this stone building was the headquarters of the Democratic Party during the Kansas territorial period, which was from 1854 to 1861. And the cabin was used during a time when Lecompton, which was known as the birthplace of the Kansas Democratic Party, was the territorial capital and stood at the center of national attention. Within these walls, ambitious and influential men gathered to discuss issues, plot strategies, and make decisions that helped shape the destiny of Kansas politics and government. Okay, let's go check it out then. Let's go see what we can see. It's kind of a cool building. I must have a basement too. I don't think I'm gonna be able to see in that though. Oh, well, we will get a view from this though. There's the river. That's the Kansas River. Very, very cool. Oh, look, another window. I don't know if we saw anything down there, but we tried. Wow, this is so cool. Oh, over here's a door. Look, there's a door. And you can see that there was a structure on the side of this, and it was actually a log cabin, and you can see it here in this drawing. I really do love coming to these historical sites, and I especially love bringing you guys with me. I mean, I would be doing this anyway, but I think it's just a whole lot more fun to have a little bit of company. Thank you guys so much. I hope you learned something on this video, and if you did, hit that like button. I appreciate it. You guys have a great day. I will see you next week. Bye now.